And good morning and welcome once again to session 2 of track 2 of the 2020 Virtual Kentucky K12 Technical Summit. And of course, you're on track 2 where we're going to have a discussion about Chrome device administration. And we have Josh and Nathan here that's going to be sharing some awesome stuff with us. Hey, but don't just sit here and listen to us. There's going to be some great discussion, and we want to invite you to please in the chat ask any questions that you'd like to. You can also tweet using the hashtag Kentucky Techs and include the T2 for track 2 in front of your message, if you will. Also, we encourage you to tweet out quotes, awesome moments, and things to remember using hashtag Kentucky Techs and the @ERATCKY during the session. There will be an exit survey at the end. A link will be shown on the screen in the chat for you to complete the survey, and by completing the survey, you will receive ELA credit for this hour. And also, you'll be added to a giveaway thanks to our friends at ProSys. So now to our team, welcome once again, everyone. And please give us a brief introduction of each of you, and you can take it away from here. Thanks, guys.
Sure. So Josh Montgomery here with Jackson County Public Schools. Going to be doing Chrome device administration session for you guys today.
Yeah, and Nathan Seaton, I'm with Owensboro Independent.
So here's a little bit of information about me and my district. Systems administrator here for Jackson County Public Schools. I've been with Jackson County for 6 years now. We have been Gmail since the divestiture. We're centered on Google products and services. We use tons of Google things, and we love it. We've adopted all kinds of things that are Google, and it's been great for our district. We're not one-to-one yet, but we're working on our way to get there. We're getting close, and hopefully, since all the COVID stuff, we're now pushing even harder to get a Chromebook for each student. I think we've got around probably 1,800 Chromebooks in our district right now. And then there's the bit.ly for this session. So if you guys want to look at the slides at your own rate, you can just note down that bit.ly and you can go along with us.
Yep. As you can see here, we are one-to-one. Right now, we're doing one-to-one 6 through 12. And that's mainly just because we restructured our 5th grade. It used to be part of middle school. Now it's back down elementary. So that's why we're 6 through 12. We've historically been 5 through 12 for about the past 10 years. And because of COVID-19, this upcoming school year, we're going to be one-to-one grades 4 through 12. Now, the other thing you'll see here is, you notice we were the first district on Gmail, and we're kind of crazy probably for doing that, but it worked out really well. And so we've literally been doing it since day one. But that also means we've had all of the struggles of, G Suite and things like that, kind of going through this whole thing. So we've had fun with the device administration. On our devices, we were a Mac district basically from 2011 until last year. And so now we've switched over. We've been one full year, all one-to-one Chromebooks, and we're going to continue with Chromebooks. And as we expanded that one-to-one down to grade 4, that is also all using Chromebooks. So I'm here learning from Josh as well. Probably some with the device administration, but we'd love to have your questions and input and things like that in the chat as well. And our district has pretty much moved exclusively away from Office 365, except for some, OneNote usage and things like that. It's not really a district push, but it's just something that's kind of happened naturally. People have migrated over to G Suite. So, Josh?
Yep, sure. Thank you, Nathan, for that. Here's kind of a presentation overview, and of course, things may change as we go along due to questions and different things, and we just want to be as beneficial as we can to everybody. But we're going to go through some Google Admin Console settings and best practices and some things to think about if you're not. We know every district is different, and what we're doing in my district may not be, may not work for your district. So, but it's still things to think about, and it could benefit you. And then we'll do some, we're going to look over the G Suite training event. that Amplified IT had the other day. There were several people on that event, but some of you may missed it, and they sent out the video and the slide deck for that. So we've got some slides with that on there. Then also we'll cover Google products and add-ons, some things that may help, and some things to be looking at for the future now as education may change because of COVID, and then possibly some device enrollment automation that may help with a surge in Chromebooks coming into your district. So we'll get right into it. Here is under the apps and extensions in the G Suite admin console. Google they separated it out now to where you've got users and browser settings, apps and extensions, and device settings. So this is under the apps and extensions. Just something that we do, we block all apps and extensions for students just because we don't want them installing a bunch of extensions that we don't know anything about. Or of course, if they're trying to add on any type of VPNs or different things that can get them around some of the policies that we've set up. And we've just told the teachers that. We've told them if they find an app that they want the student to use, just to contact us, let us know, and then we go in and put it into an allowed group. So, and then we also can include those in the Chrome Web Store collection. So you can see over to the right, we have that toggled on. So when the students go to the Chrome Web Store, they can see apps that we say that we want to be there and see it around their dashboard and can add them there too. So we set some of them to just allow the install, but then we also force out some apps to be installed, just to make it easier if we think it's something that all the students need. And so one of the things that came up when, NTI and working from home, teachers were asking us about if they could, see all the students at once. And then we were told about the Google Grid View app or extension. And so we ended up pushing that out in the early stages to all students so that they could use that. But now Google has changed and they've integrated that into Google Meet. And I'll probably be taking that back off now that has changed. But this is a good place that you can control some of that for your district, for your students or even for your staff for that matter, if you want to do that and only allow them to be able to get to certain apps and extensions.
Yeah, and Josh, we made a changeover last year for the, going from the just allowing anything to having a predefined allow list. Yep. And one thing that I would encourage districts to do is that if you're going to make that changeover, rather than just making the setting change, really try to look through and see which extensions are being used. And that's kind of what we did. We had about 75 to 100 different extensions that we found were the top used extensions. And then we kind of filtered those down to say, yes, these are the ones that are actually, educational. And that made that changeover a lot easier because we probably only ended up with a handful of tickets of things that people wanted rather than here's every extension under the sun. And we also crowdsourced some of that too. We found some of our neighboring districts and said what extensions are being used, maybe on a one-off basis. So that helped a lot too in that process.
Yeah, that's great, Nathan. Thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, it's helpful, and we don't get a lot of tickets anymore. Just a few asking for, a new extension. But teachers are good at finding them. They find a lot of helpful and useful extensions, especially after coming back from KISTI. So then here's some kind of best practices under user and browser settings in the admin console. I'm sure several districts are already using these, and in some cases it may not really apply to what your needs are. But incognito mode, go ahead and disallow that from students being able to use it. Browser history, we're saving that, but we're not allowing the students to clear their browser history. We're forcing, safe search and restricted mode. We're not allowing developer tools, and we're blocking the task manager for students, so they can't go in and stop any processes. What we also use is restricted mode for YouTube. We've probably been using that for a couple of years now, so it's worked really well. If you see the link there, that's a link to Dave Carty's website where he has a how-to on how to set that up if you're interested. It's pretty easy to follow, but it's been great for us. It restricts, a lot of the videos on YouTube, and so it seemed to do a really good job. We did block YouTube for students for a long time, and then once we put this in place, we have allowed that for them. So on the Chromebooks, it makes it easy. It just it just works on there. But if they're using a Windows device, they do have to be logged into the actual Chrome browser. They have to, like, as a profile. It can't just be going to google.com and logging in with their account. They actually have to be on the browser for it to work. Otherwise, they're not going to get to YouTube. So teachers know to kind of help them through that process if they're using Windows devices still.
Yeah, and on our side, what we do for that is we make Chrome the default browser, and then inside of Chrome as a Chrome policy, we force our users to have to sign in. So if you open up Chrome, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to sign in. So that's kind of a little bit of a way to get around that. It's still not foolproof, but it does help out a little bit. And then kind of adding on to the restricted mode, as districts are getting Relay as an option, basically we've turned off our restricted mode that we've had on for years, and we're using the Smart Play, I believe is what it's called, inside of Relay, and it seemed to have worked very well. So that's something that you may want to experiment with inside of your district, is restricted mode or Smart Play, or a combination of both, and depending on how your district's set up, it may work out to have some combination of those.
Yeah, and I just seen that watching the Lightspeed Relay session just a minute ago, and so I kind of took note of that we're going to have to look into that now to see which one we need to have turned on, and what'll benefit us better. So and then I've got a little screenshot there inside where we once the user signed in, we don't allow them to sign into a personal Gmail account. We have it restricted right now to where they can only use their district account. So, and then that multiple sign-in access there looks like you could set that up to where if you don't want them to sign out of that account, it may have to be the primary user that's signed in. There's no secondary users allowed, so that may be helpful to kind of lock it down even tighter to if you want them to only be on that account. And
Josh, James, with the restricted mode, she said, does it also block comments for YouTube? And I believe the answer is no, it does not block comments. Is that correct, or does it?
It's been a while since I've looked into it, but I really think that it does, and I could be completely wrong on that, but I feel like it does.
I can't remember off the top of my head either, Jamie, but I can tell you that for sure Lightspeed Relay can make that happen for you. So you will definitely have a solution in this upcoming school year, one way or the other.
Not just about comments, but how about YouTube ads as well? I see some follow-up questions here.
I'm not sure that it will do that on the ads.
Yeah, that's what I meant. She said ads, not comments. Yeah.
Do you know about that, Nathan?
I believe I have seen ads even with the restricted mode on. I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I'm not sure. That's a good question. We need to follow up on that one.
Yeah, we'll try to send some more information out on that to help you all. We'll try to find an answer for that. But it works pretty well. We've had, if the video is blocked for the domain, the staff member can get to it, but they see a little blue bar that says the video is not approved for our district, and they can just hit approve, and then all the students in the district will be able to view that video or that channel, after you have that set up. So. And then here's some more in the user and browser settings. Might want to look at doing some managed bookmarks. That's something I'm going to look into. We don't currently do that, but it may be a good idea, especially if we're doing a lot of at-home learning, that we'll have a list of just, this is what we want the students, to have bookmarked and show up on their, Chromebook to help them, instead of maybe going to the district web page and searching for links. That may be something we can push out, by OU to certain schools, because they'll have different needs, I'm going to look at doing that and sitting down and having conversations with our administrators. And then over here, circled, I hadn't really ever looked at it before, but URL blocking, most of your content filters are going to, block things for you. But this is something I found, and I thought it was interesting, that we're not currently doing. but you can block the terminal on the Chromebook to where the students can't launch that if you just put in that top line. And then you can also block them from getting to the settings page on Chromebooks if you have those other two lines in there to where students can't do either of those things. Now, you may want them to get to the settings to be able to look at things, but if you want to lock it down to where they can't do those, might want to look at doing this URL blocking under user and browser settings. This is something that I stumbled across getting ready for this training and meeting is the managed browsers. It seems like every time you get in the admin console, there's new things. Google's always, it seems, doing some changes, and usually it's changes for the better. You know, it's always good things that they're doing. But this managed browsers, I'm not sure how long that it's been in there, but I just haven't really paid attention to it. But it looks like you can now set this up to where you can have managed browsers that are pushed out to all these different platforms. And so kind of like the Windows group policy, you can enforce, you know, different policies to all users, and it looks like it doesn't even really matter that if they're signed in or not. They're, you know, the device is going to get the policy just because the browser is set, you know, to receive it from the admin console. It looks like the most beneficial thing to it is you get to view reports on the browsers to see what apps they're installing or they have installed on the browser, and you know, different versions, and that can give you some more information. But it did say at the bottom that it's only free for the ones that are using phone and email support. So I guess if you're a Gmail district, I suppose it's free. If you're not, there may be some costs associated with that, but that's something I'm going to take a look into to see if, you know, it's possibly beneficial more than just, you know, setting the policies from the users and the device settings. You may be able to gain some more options from this. Nathan, have you looked at that or done anything with managed browsers?
Yeah, so going back to, you know, I just told you that we moved from the white lists or the allow list on the, we moved from that block list is the way that it was set up when we had our MacBook Airs for students. And there wasn't really a good way to get a list of extensions that were installed from the MacBook. So we actually deployed this managed browsers settings out to all the student devices right before we took them up for the year, so that we could get a good list of what they had installed and what they were using. So that is one of the features that we've used out of this, is to get a list of those extensions. Now, granted, we used it very briefly, but if you are using Windows devices or Mac OS devices and you want to try to see what extensions are installed on different devices, even if they're not signed into the browser, this is a good way to do it right here.
Yep, so might want to give that a look going forward. And there's a few things under device settings. We force free enrollment, so that if you know, Chromebook is power washed, it's going to automatically re-enroll. And then we also have disabled device return instructions on there. So we just have it set to where, you know, please return it to the Board of Education. However, now that we're doing more with, you know, Chromebooks being taken out of our district, then we're probably going to maybe modify those instructions, you know, for the actual schools where they can return them, you know, instructions to return them to the school. Because before all of this, we really didn't send Chromebooks home with students where we wasn't one-to-one yet. You know, there was a few instances at the high school where they could check them out for some of the upper level kids. But for the most part, you know, this is kind of all new to us where they're being taken home. So that could be good to set that up. And then we disable guest mode, restrict the sign in to only our domain, so they can they have to have their account to be able to get signed into it.
And a good thing for to mention for those who maybe don't use G Suite as much is most of these settings that we show here can be controlled either by OU or group or both. So for us in particular, like with these settings, the sign-in restrictions, we have some devices like that are staff devices where they can only be logged in with email addresses that are the staff domain, but on student devices, either staff or student can log into them. And then, you know, we have another school that is an innovation academy that is between, you know, we're the independent district and then there's the county district, and we have students from both in those schools. And so in that particular OU, if a student needs to log in with their home district's email address, they can do that as well. So some of these settings aren't necessarily a, you know, you have to apply them across the board. You can kind of get granular with most any of these permissions, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. And so in our admin console, we have it set up pretty similar to how AD is broken down by OUs. And so you might want to think about doing that too. Getting it, it's I wouldn't say it's a perfect match, but it's it's broken down, students and then actual schools. And if you want to break it down to even grade level, if that helps you in some way, you can. So you can get it as granular as you want to. Something that's been very helpful though is the autocomplete domain. If you see that down there, we have that set to just put the stu.jackson.ky.schools.us on the end of it, so that students can log in easier. They just need their first last name to remember that. Of course, it was a little bit confusing because sometimes a staff member would need to use it, and they would stop typing and think, well, how do I log in? We would have to tell them, you just keep typing and it goes away, and they can put they're forced to type their whole email in. But we've done that to make it easier on students for logging in. Okay, so thought we'd take just a brief break right here to see if there's any questions to this point. We have anything?
I think for the most part, you've been kind of answering them as you've went. I've been looking at a few of them. You spoke about comments and ads there. They've shared a few of the add-ons, and of course, you've spoke a little bit on dealing with some of the add-ons and how you can bring those in. So if there's no other questions in chat, and I don't see any popping up right now while we have this break, I think we're good.
Okay. And it's kind of like what me and Nathan had talked about before this session started. These are best practices or things to think about. A lot of these settings may not apply to you and your district. You just kind of got to think about what makes sense for your users and your students. It could be helpful or it could hurt. So sometimes I've made changes in the admin console, and then I've gotten several calls and people's been like, what did you do and why did you do it? And so sometimes you have to, you make changes and you don't really know how it's going to affect, or you didn't know that people are actually using certain things.
Yeah, and sometimes even inside your own district, things change, and you have to, make settings, and so, it's not always a set it and forget it kind of thing. Josh, there was another question that was kind of asked a little bit earlier on. It was about exporting grade books for all classrooms and students. That is, I think, specifically a Google Classroom question. So I don't think that's going to be in the scope of what we have today. Now, I will tell you, in Region 2, it kind of started off as a chat that we had in Hangouts that has now moved over into Google Chat. Pretty much this week is when it moved over. And that's a really good resource to ask a lot of G Suite related questions. And I'll throw a link to a Google form where you can request access to that chat so that you can ask some of those questions. And it's kind of just not even necessarily G Suite anymore. It's kind of morphed into an ed tech chat. So I'll try to get that over there, a link to sign up for that here in just a second.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so here is the slide pertaining to the session that happened the other day, the training event that Amplified IT hosted. It was great. I watched, it was over 2 hours long. I mean, it was kind of lengthy, but it had a lot of good information on best practices for remote learning kind of going forward. There's the link to the recording and then the slide deck. If you haven't watched it, take time sometime and kind of go through it. And it goes into detail on, changes you can make and how to do those in the admin console. And I learned some things from it the other day that we weren't doing. We've had walled garden set up for a while, and for email mostly, but I thought I had it set up correctly for Drive, and after going through that, I kind of seen that I'd missed some settings in there. So I actually made some changes from it, and it's hard, to get it completely right sometimes, but it's a great resource, I think. And it talks about some of the changes that Google's making going forward to try to help with all of this, virtual learning and working from home type of deal. So now we're going to talk about Google products, add-ons, and third-party solutions. This is something that hopefully you all know about, but it's the Google for Education Services offer. Amplified IT does this, and they offer a lot of good services, and you get credits for buying Chromebooks, and we bought a lot of them last year. So we got credits, and we used them for Chrome Gopher and Buddy. We got that free for a year because we had enough credits to do that. And so if you never looked at this before, I would advise you to, because I'm sure with this CARES money that's coming, a lot of districts are going to be buying more Chromebooks, and you can get training and different offers from this. Let's go to that real quick just to kind of look through it. Just if you've never looked before, depending on the amount of Chromebooks you buy, you can get certain services, and then you get more with the more amount that you buy. But a lot of Amplified IT services are on there. They've got training services to where you can get some training for your users if you want to, and that can be very beneficial if you're looking to get more training on Google. There's some transformation services that they offer, but I think it's great. If you've never looked at it before, definitely give it a look. So, and Erica, I think she's for the whole state of Kentucky, I believe, is our rep. So you can talk to Erica if you've got any questions about it. We've been in contact with her, and she's been great so far. So, and like I said, we use Chrome for Gopher, the premium. We get Chrome for Gopher and Gopher Buddy. It's been very beneficial for us as managing our Chromebooks. Gopher Buddy, it's just an extension that gets added on, and it'll tell the user when Chrome is out of date, and they can click the button to fix it. And it can give you some more information too about the Chrome device. But it helps with the reporting in Gopher for Chrome. If you've never looked at that before, this is kind of what it looks like. It can pull however you specify it to on your Chromebook fleet out of Admin Console. And so it's just an add-on, a sheet add-on. And you can set it to, pull all your Chromebooks, or, you can specify a date for the enrollment that you want to go back and look at. And we do that when we enroll them. If there was a mistake or something, or if we want to put them in to an OU, you can do it in mass with Chrome Gopher. And it's been great for us. So there's where you can kind of specify your values as far as if the device is active and all this. And if you're going to pull the Gopher Buddy data in. So you can make changes, drag and drop, and then you can apply them up to the Admin Console when you're done. So if you've never given this a look, it's great. We put a lot of information in here as far as asset ID and notes. And then here it gives you your kind of session data for the last person that's logged into it and how long they were logged in. And that's what Gopher Buddy will give you. Otherwise, it gives you this information you can't modify, but can be good for like looking at your models, what version they're running. It's very beneficial. You can run reports. Here's some reports on usage, and you can look by how the OUs are broken down. And it tells you, so you could kind of get an idea of, hey, is your users actually using your devices, or are they just sitting in the cart? You can also get a look at your models that you have. So this is a breakdown of all the models we have in our district, Chromebooks and Chromeboxes. And it will show you, a breakdown of when they're enrolled or when they're going to expire for their auto update. So we take a look at that from time to time to see which ones, are getting some age. But it's been great. It's a great tool that we use. Like I said, we got it for free for a year from just buying Chromebooks. So.
Yeah, and like I said, we don't use any of the. Getting a little bit of echo. There we go. I was going to say that we don't use any of the amplified tools currently. Some of these we're building. We're getting reports out of GAM or like the inactive devices. There's a built-in report for it. So some of it depends on how much you want customized. Like with some of the amplified things, it's really simple to just get the information and go. If you want to customize some of it, you can do some of that on your own and pull some of the exact same data. But before we leave the amplified products, Michael had a question. He said that do you use the SIS product, and can you explain how it works, Josh?
We don't currently use it. We had looked at using it, but we decided not to. I believe my DTC, she had talked with Infinite Campus, and they had just rolled out that beta tool to be able to link Google Classroom and IC together. And so I think she went that route to do some of that. But we were very close to purchasing it. But then, like I said, we didn't. So I don't have a lot of experience because we never did implement it as far as how that works. But I know they're doing like for a limited time, I can't remember if it's maybe into July sometime, that you can do it for free and take advantage of that they're offering. So now may be a good time if you're interested to take a look at it and maybe kind of demo it, see if it's something your district will want to purchase for the next school year. So.
Yeah, and Erica over at Amplified One Slide Back is a good resource too. So if you didn't screenshot her contact information, be sure to get that.
Yeah, definitely take down the bit.ly for this session so that you can go back and have access to these links later on, and we'll have the link again at the end. So of course, this is a big topic now, the offsite content filtering. We had never done it because we'd never sent Chromebooks home. We always kept them in district, so we wasn't really worried about it. And then whenever COVID hit and everybody was working from home, we were just doing whatever we could to help them through NTI. And we kind of had to let the security side slide a little bit, sadly, because we wasn't prepared. And but now we had actually purchased Impero and was going to set it up over the summer and have it ready for next school year. But now with the information that Relay is going to be given to us by KDE, it's great, and I think it should work even better because it's going to be integrated in with our Rocket, which we're already using. So to me, I would think, I don't have any experience with it, but I would think that it would work better. This is just some of the others that you all may already be using, but I would think that Relay is going to probably be the best option where it's going to be seamlessly working with the Rocket. And Nathan, you said that you were already using it, I believe.
Yeah, so we actually have been testing it out for, I don't know, 5 or 6 months now. And we've had a lot of really good experiences with it. And if you were watching the Relay session earlier, the naysayer was me. But yeah, I've had a lot of really great experiences with Relay versus my experience with the Rocket. That being said, we are also using GoGuardian as well. And during our initial testing phases, because we were using GoGuardian for all of our offsite filtering because of my experiences with the Rocket. And I'll say that we did figure out a way to kind of make them both work at the same time. However, I wouldn't really recommend it. So if you're already a GoGuardian customer and you're going to start using Relay, you may want to seriously consider picking one or the other. Otherwise, you end up doing a lot of overhead as far as troubleshooting between the two as far as filtering. So really pick one or the other. I can't recommend both. However, you can make both work. So, for example, if you like GoGuardian's filtering, but you really like Relay's, Smart Play YouTube built-in thing, then you could maybe make some of those things work. But overall, generally, I would say pick one or the other.
Yep, I agree. So this is something that we implemented because we'd sent so many home, and then we were talking about whenever Chromebooks come back into the district, a way of cleaning them or helping with that. And so we bought this ZapBug product, the ZapBug heater, for every library in our district, and it's worked great. So it's it works for electronic devices, but it also works for the library books too, as far as cleaning. It heats up to, I think, minimum's like 120 degrees, goes up to like 155. And I think you only have to leave them in there for a few minutes. I think our librarian that I've talked to at the high school, she said she leaves them in there for about 5 minutes after it's heated up, and then she rotates and puts another set of Chromebooks in there to clean them. So if you all have not done something like this in your district, you may want to look at doing that, and there's a link to it there. I think this one is $200, and it's pretty good size. I mean, I think it's about a 3 by 2 little case that you put them in, and and the big thing is not only for COVID or germs, but bed bugs or anything like that can be brought back into the school. It'll that's kind of what it's made for, is to kill them. So but yeah, for library books, Chromebooks, anything that you want to throw in there, I guess that can handle the heat. This has been beneficial for us getting the Chromebooks back. something I wanted to speak on just for a little bit. I know there's a session, there was a session on it this morning, but the Clever Badges has been very helpful with students being at home, and it's something that we'd had probably been using for 4 or 5 months before COVID hit. We had been kind of new to implement it, but we're allowing badges K through 3. We had thought about doing K through 5, but we kind of had to weigh our options there. We want to help the students to be able to log in, but we didn't want to just help them too much. So we thought by 4th and 5th grade, they should be able to type in their account and log into a Chromebook, like everybody else. And so that kind of gives them some time to do that. But it's been great. The teachers have loved it. But and we also set up the single sign-on with the Clever Badge on the Chromebooks, and that was great too. So that was really helpful. They could log straight into the Chromebook by just holding up the badge. Here's a screenshot of what it looks like when the Chromebook comes up. They just hit next, and then it comes up to their webcam, and then they hold their badge up, and it logs them straight into the Chromebook and launches the Clever portal as the first tab, and then they're in their portal ready to go. So it's great. We did have to train our users though, because there was some staff or where we have carts. One day the cart may be in 3rd grade, the next day may be in 4th grade. So we had to do some training with the staff to tell them and the students that if you aren't using a badge, you've got to click that sign in with a different account, and then it takes you to a page where you can sign in with your Google account. So just had to do a little bit of training on that. If had we had more Chromebooks and per grade level or 1-to-1, that would probably look different. But
Yeah. I was gonna say that Josh, the first month that we had that, we basically we went ahead and made a wallpaper that said, hey, if you're logging with a badge, click here, and if you're logging here, and we just made that badge have arrows that pointed to each of the buttons. And so
that's a great idea.
That worked well for the first month, and then we just turned off that background.
It's a great idea. And bringing up the wallpapers, it's a great point. We use the wallpapers. We use them when they come up to the sign-in. Like per school, we have, like their mascot. We have that made to where it kind of gives them an identity of, this is for this school. And if it happens to travel to another school or something like that, then, they can notify us, hey, we've got one of this elementary school's Chromebooks. And we also do the backgrounds for the students when they sign into their account. Their background changes to their school, like mascot and colors. And it does good too, because we've had some teachers call us and the student has transferred, from school to school, and then they told us, and we've found that there's been a problem with our syncs, that student didn't get moved over correctly, and we've went in and fixed that manually. So in setting up the Clever Badges, we made some changes to our Chromebooks for elementary. I think we've done this for middle school too, but to never show usernames and photos. So whenever the Chromebook's turned on, it doesn't save those profiles. It just wipes them clean when they log out, and then of course erase all local user data too, just to keep it pretty clean to where they're logging in with those badges. Okay, so going to this next part, this is the Chrome device enrollment automation. Don't know how many of you are doing this, but we currently are using, or had been using, the Centipede script with the Arduino units. So they're very cheap. I think I looked, and you can go to those links, but you can buy the microcontroller for $12. The USB cable seems like it's went up in price, but you can get it all there for a decent price. I think we've got about 10 of them. We don't usually run any more than that, but we just use them when we get several hundred Chromebooks in. If you've only got a few, it seems like it's about easier just to do it manually. But if you're getting hundreds in, thousands in, maybe you might want to look at doing one of these products. I will say somebody in our region had sent out an email saying that they hadn't been able to get the Centipede and the Arduinos to work for past several months, and I think there's possibly a problem with it. The scripts, it's pretty straightforward, but there's some things in there that you have to kind of go through slow, and you may run it and find that it hangs up in a place, and you have to go and modify the script for that particular part. But I haven't used it in a while because we've not had a big lot of Chromebooks in. But the last few times my technician tried to use it, he had said that there were some problems. So there could be an issue there now. I don't know. I'm going to try to look into it. I never got a chance to do it before this session, but and see, if there is a problem with the script, or maybe the unit not working anymore. The USB rubber ducky is another option you can have. It's a $50 USB device. You can plug in and enroll Chromebooks. It's very simple. It looks like the programming is more simple. It's just something you can modify in Notepad, and got the links there for those if you want to look at them. But you may want to look at doing this. I think we're going to probably buy a USB rubber ducky and just test it out, just one of them, just to see how it works, and it may work better than the centipedes do with okay. If you're a big district and you have tons and tons of Chromebooks coming in, you may want to do a Go box, more on the high end price wise, but you can do 16 at a time. It includes the USB cables, and there's your promo code if you want to purchase it. You get $150 off if you're an Amplified IT customer. So it's been helpful when we've had hundreds of Chromebooks, but like I said, if you don't get that many in, maybe just easier to do it manually. So Nathan, you said that you guys use the white glove services more so though?
Yeah, so in our district, we pretty much either buy 5 to 10 at a time, or we buy thousands. There's not really much in between for us. So for us, we basically we usually either set them up by hand because there's just so few of them, or we do use a white glove service. And so we've used a couple of different vendors through CDW, and we've had great experiences with them. We can tell them exactly how we want them customized. They get rid of a lot of the trash and excess things, and they actually get recycled. So that's been beneficial for us whenever we're going out and bidding new items, is to include that white glove service, because not only does it save a lot of time, but it also makes sure that every single device is consistent, and from a pricing standpoint, it really made sense for us versus the personnel and efforts that we were going to have to make to get these things unboxed and discarded. We do have a couple of minutes left here for questions, just a few, but Dave threw in a couple of other things to mention, which is turn off auto updates, and some models.
Yes, that could be a problem with the script. Those auto updates. Might need to look into that. The open Wi-Fi connection, definitely on that. We have an open Wi-Fi connection on an AP here at the board. Most of our Chromebooks come here, and it can easily join to that open Wi-Fi connection. Then as soon as it gets the policies, it switches over to our regular Wi-Fi connection that's at the school. So it's a good idea too. So definitely do that.
Yep.
It looked like the Go box, from what I could tell. I've never used one, but I mean, it looks like there's a web interface you go to. It looked like it was very easy to use. I mean, they say that you don't have to have any programming language experience to use it. So that may be a very good option if you're maybe more scared about doing the actual programming. May give that a try. But said.
All right.
All right, so that's all the slides that we have. We've got a couple minutes. I thought this was great, given the times and the way this past year's been. You gotta love Michael Scott.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you guys so much, Josh, Nathan. I mean, that was a great presentation and very well delivered. We will be posting the Google Meet link in the chat here in just a moment. So if you do want to jump in over these next few minutes here and talk to them, and there it is. But don't forget also that if you need ELA certificate credit, please fill out that link. You can see that. Courtney has just shared that in the chat, and you will also be entered in for each of these certificate forms that you fill out for the